The Todd father, Todd Leary, joins us now. How are you doing, sir?
I'm doing great. I'm doing fantastic. It's rainy and ugly, but other than that, doing good.
Brought to you by myjumpshot.com. Don't forget, just go to myjumpshot.com if you or you have kids or know of someone looking to work on their shot. The shot doctor, the Todd father, has worked with some big time players in the state already. I don't know. Do you talk about that? Some of the guys you work with?
I mean, yes. It's not like I hide it.
Right, and it's not been hidden, and it's not been hidden by because because I reposted the pictures of you with Trent Sisley.
Yep.
You've worked with Xavier Stink Robinson from Lawrence North.
He don't stink no more.
Oh man, that's funny. Boy, that's a nickname I guess you have to just embrace.
I guess. Or change.
Absolutely. But his father's great. I had the chance to meet him up in
awesome.
Indianapolis a couple of weeks ago. He came up. I was getting a hot dog. I didn't know how. I'm like, how the hell do you even recognize me? But grateful to meet him as well and watched Xavier play. Man, he looks like he could be a little running back as well.
Yeah, Gus is awesome. His dad's awesome. But Xavier is, I mean, he's a great player, but he's, in working with him in the little amount that I have worked with him, he's just as good a kid as he is basketball player, and he's a really good basketball player. So I got to see him play against Trent Sisley and that team, and I think obviously the talent level on Sisley's team was far superior on the court, but Xavier Robinson definitely, I don't even want to say held his own. He was without a doubt one of the best players on the court. So yeah, he's very, very good.
And man, think of the players in this class this year. We just mentioned a couple of them. Braylon Mullins, boy, his recruiting is about to skyrocket.
Yep. Well, and it is, and he is. He's earned it. Like, it's not like he lucked into it with one good game here or there or whatever. Like, I've watched him multiple times now, and he backs it up pretty much all the time. And I think one of the things where it will even start to skyrocket even faster will be when coaches actually see him play in person, because some players some players list themselves. I think LeBronny James thing lately has been a big deal about him listing himself at 6'4" and he's really 6'2" and all those things. Well, Braylon Mullins is the opposite. Like he's a legit 6'5" or 6.
Yeah.
And he surprises you when you see him at how big he is, and he's athletic, and yeah, his stock is going to continue to rise. He is, first of all, people that can shoot the ball already. When they get on that stage and they make a bunch of shots, their stock rises really quickly. And he is one of the best shooters in that class, not just in Indiana, but across the country.
Oh, no question about that. Here's a question that I have for you. He's the one thing that you hear from people that look at him. I've said it myself, is like, oh, the only thing he needs is just to put on some weight. It's not like he's skin and bones out there. So I always want to say that when I say that, but he's deceptively athletic, man. He will get around you. He will shoot over you. He is athletic. Don't kid yourself. And, somehow my ESPN started rolling again, telling the guy yelling at Scheffler. But we see all these guys that come to Indiana and go through working the workouts, getting much bigger. All of a sudden you see them putting those pictures out with six packs and all that. That has to be able to affect shooting, I would think.
Yeah. I mean,
yes or no?
No, you mean negatively, like negatively impacted? I don't think so. No, I don't, because as long as you are like, it's muscle memory. Yeah, they're building their muscles, they're building their bodies differently. But as long as the overall techniques and things don't change for someone who's already a good shooter, being strong, big and strong and all that doesn't necessarily, especially with the size that we're talking about with these guys. They're trying to put on 10 or 15 pounds. They're not trying to put on 60 pounds. So it doesn't really impact them negatively as long as their body mass or whatever doesn't really change. You know, if they got super big and or whatever, did something dramatic to their body, that might change it. But overall, lifting weights and getting stronger and all that's only going to help you. And really, like, yes, he needs to gain some weight and all that. There's nothing he can do at this age. We all were that age at one point. There's nothing you can really do to gain weight at that age.
I couldn't. I mean, you could have
no
paid
one
me.
could. Yeah, you just couldn't. Like, that didn't happen. But now you can go get more physically in shape and all that stuff, and he'll get bigger and stronger. That will happen. But you know, he's strong with the ball. That's really, I think, a lot of the guys who get labeled guys who need to get bigger and stronger are guys who get bumped off their driving lines and things like that. And he's not that guy. Like,
No, that's not happening.
He's kind of the aggressor. And when he has the ball, he's kind of seeking the contact. And so I think that's as much of a reason why his stock is going to continue to rise. Yeah, I'm with you. I got an easy 20 I can give him.
I got it. I'm in front of all you suckers.
Yep, for sure.
But and then, of course, Trent Sisley is a completely different player, wing player who can shoot the ball from outside very well. Also can play inside, which he's had to do in high school, not his normal position. You worked with him as well.
Yeah, and that's just he has, I don't want to say raw talent, because that sounds like, I feel people say raw talent when people are just athletic and
natural. You're very natural,
not that skilled. He's skilled, but he's also sneaky athletic. Like, he'll bang with you, and when he gets out on the wing and is able to run and get to the basket, he's sneaky athletic. I think I kind of pictured him as being a little more, I call it ass heavy, where they're not great at getting off the floor and all that. And he is the opposite of that. He's bouncy, and he understands the game, and he's got a little bit of an edge to him that I like. I honestly, I hope this would come across as a compliment, but I kind of thought he was going to be a little soft, and he's not. Like, he actually
plays better when he's pissed off. I've said it.
Totally. And that's the way a lot of us played when we were younger. And you know, like I just use an example right now. Joker for the Denver Nuggets, he got really pissed off, not last night, but a couple games ago, and you saw what happened, what he did to Rudy Gobert. And sometimes guys play better when they're like that. Sometimes they don't. Sometimes they lose their mind. I think Jamal Murray lost his mind in the second game of the series, throwing a heat pack at the ref and all that stuff. But overall, like, back to Trent Sisley, like, he's got a little edge to him, that's a good thing. That's a positive comment when you're talking about a basketball player.
Absolutely. And he's a guy that is a utility. He's a utility box.
Yeah.
He could play the 3, he could probably play the 4. And if pressed, he could actually, and I'm not talking about for Indiana or for somebody else, but he could probably play on a limited manner, play the 2 for just a little bit if he had to. And he would be a wicked 2.
You look at it this way, like, he is very, very similar in my eyes to Liam McNeely. Like, the only difference is, that was his name, right? Liam McNeely.
What's that?
McNeely.
Yes.
McNeely. Yeah.
Someone asked earlier, is he going to be
similar
Liam
to him?
McNeely?
He's very similar to him. Honestly, the only difference in the 2 in ranking is one plays at a nationally ranked school and the other one plays at a very small school in the state of Indiana.
Exactly.
And Trent Sisley could very easily go play for Montverde. Like, they've asked him to come many times. But I mean, he's choosing to live a normal Indiana high school kid life, and not normal because he gets recruited by everybody. And I think they're in I think they're in Houston, Texas. I meant to text his dad because that terrible storm.
Bryan, Texas. They're in Bryan, Texas.
It's close to Houston. Like, I know they flew into Houston. So that storm they had yesterday, I meant to text him and make sure everybody was all right. But yeah, he's very similar to him in that regard, where he's a shooter. He can make shots, and then he can also take it to the basket and finish strong and all that. So I'm high on Trent Sisley. I hope he ends up not going too far from home for his college schooling.
Well, I would put money on that he
It
won't
being in
leave
the
the
state of
state.
Indiana, it'll be in the
Yes.
state. I think it'll be in the state of Indiana. I just hope it's the one I want it to be.
But I can tell you the one that is recruited him the hardest would not be the one you'd like to
Correct.
see him be. Which that's that's good. But the thing about that is, and I had Casey Bartley on earlier from Boiler Upload. Purdue they've got 6 new guys coming in this year, and you don't have Zach Edey. They have so little room. They had to take a scholarship away from somebody or ask them to give up their scholarship,
right.
whatever the case, doesn't matter. Someone that was on scholarship last year is no longer going to be on scholarship, and they're not making an announcement of who that is, by the way, which I find that to be absolutely hilarious, because that's just trying to like, oh no, we don't do that kind of stuff. Yeah, you do. Everybody does.
But you know, like 10 years ago, that would have been a big deal. But with NIL, I mean,
somebody's paying. He's getting paid for it. Yeah,
figure out a way around it is all I'll say. And I'm not saying Purdue, like every school can figure out a way around it if they want to. And so that's not near as big a deal as it would have been 10 years ago.
Yeah,
3 years ago.
Yeah, Purdue did, no problem. But my point is, they won't have. I think they'll have room for one guy the following season. Yeah, and they're recruiting Harrelson. They're recruiting Sisley.
I think the days of us being able to look at someone's roster beyond the season coming up are over. Like no one knows what anybody. Look at last year. If you'd have said before last season what Kansas's roster is going to be this coming season, I think everyone would have thought you had lost your mind. And so I'm just saying, like, you can't dictate what rosters are going to look like 2 years from now. Guys are going to leave and go and come. And
Purdue is the only one I would attempt that on, just because of Matt Painter having he's stuck with his philosophy thus far, bringing in 6 freshmen. I think this will be the beginning of it for Purdue, because I would put money on the fact that those 6 freshmen that are coming in this year all of them will not be there for their sophomore year. That's going to be the beginning of it for Purdue, in my opinion. We'll see, but I just don't see all 6 of those guys staying. But still, there's not a lot of room there, and so that's going to limit their recruiting. Indiana's going to have a ton of openings. They've got so many of their guys that they brought in. The most recent one, Langdon Hatton from North Harrison. How about North Harrison kid? Now that's a first for them. Guy pointed out you, but there's so many of their players that have 1 year left, and then you're going to have Mackenzie Mbako, which the question mark, will he be here the following year?
Right.
So Indiana will kind of be in a similar situation next year, but this 2025 class, we talked about Braylon Mullins. We talked about Trent Sisley. Malachi Moreno, I don't know if he's something that can really happen, but he plays with these guys and has been. They're brothers, and has been playing on that Indiana team, although he lives right outside of Lexington, Kentucky. That will be a difficult get. But Jalen Harrelson is Braylon Mullins is climbing like going up with a bullet, but Jalen Harrelson is already up there. He is very coveted. He's a 6'7" point guard that is just athletic and just kind of abnormal.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of talent. Like, there's a lot of players that that luckily the Indiana schools, I don't want to say get to choose from, but get to see on a regular basis. And the hard part is, I mean, and I said this on the show like either last week or the week before, is, I mean, I've talked to more than one very well-known high major Big Ten assistant coaches. that have said they're barely recruiting in college. And I'm not ripping Indiana. I'm not just talking about Indiana. I've talked to a couple other ones, and they're not even that high and excited on the young freshmen. The guys coming out of high school, and that's a casualty of the NIL transfer rule and all that stuff. Those are the people that are getting hurt right now. The high school seniors that was all this not in place would be getting a lot more attention and a lot more scholarship offers than what they're getting. Now, they're just going to it just sucks because they're going to have to go earn it a different way and in a different route and go to some smaller schools and put up numbers and then go somewhere. And they'll get paid for it if they do that. So there are some benefits to it, but there are also some negatives. And it is what it is. And the high school kids are wading through a world that none of us have ever really dealt with before. And so it's just new and different. And we don't really know how it's going to play out 1 year, 2 years, 3 years from now. But the way it is right now, these high school kids, Indiana has a ton of talented kids. The state of Indiana does. And I just hope that they get signed by, I hope all the schools in Indiana have an opportunity to recruit those guys and take that opportunity.
Yeah, you're definitely going to, the days of seeing guys on the benches that you're like, well, they need practice players, etc. Kid, he's from Indiana, he went to Bloomington South, whatever.
Right.
That used to be the norm. Every team had somebody that was just beloved by the school because they're, from nowhere,
right.
Indiana.
Right.
Like you. No, I'm just kidding. You were from Lawrence North, won a state championship. Are you kidding me? But those days are pretty much over. And it's going to, I predict it will be over for Matt Painter and Purdue because he's going to see that, I can't do this 6 freshman thing anymore. I've got to have more flexibility. It's simply about having flexibility, roster flexibility. And being able to instantly add the pieces that you need to be successful now instead of 3 years from now.
Yeah, I mean, I think there are going to be some coaches that try to hold on to that philosophy and try to stick with it, like Matt Painter, and he's been successful with it. I think there will be other coaches. I know Shaka Smart at Marquette is on those same lines. Heck, UConn's kind of in the same boat. Like, they're not trying to do 8 portal guys every year. They add 1 or 2, but they're not trying.
No, they just bring in a couple of NBA guys.
Yeah, and so I mean that situation, I think it's going to continue to change. I don't think we should sit here and try to figure it out today and how it's going to work 3 years from now because I think it's going to change even more. I think it'll continue to get better every year because right now it's the wild west. I mean, it's literally, I don't like where I'm at, I go somewhere different, and it's just that's not the way it should be.
Hello, everybody. Jim Coyle with Indiana Sports Beat Radio, and thank you for enjoying our content and videos. And make sure you hit that subscribe and notifications toggle so you don't miss out on anything, whether it's Indiana Hoosiers, the Boilers, the Colts, the Pacers, Indiana high school action, whatever is happening in sports. We're trying to bring it all to you, and make sure you don't miss out on a thing. Again, hit the subscribe button for us. Helps us out a ton. We appreciate each and every one of you. Thank you so much.